Black Power, Black Beauty, Black by popular demand. This is Black's History Month, a 28-day celebration of Black exploitation films. "29 years after the first Shaft film, and 27 years after the last one, comes Shaft, or Shaft 2000, so you can tell the difference. I remember when this movie was released, I was not at all excited to go see it at theaters. Just looking at the trailer, it did not give me 70s Shaft vibes at all, so I never went to see it, nor did I ever see it on DVD. So this year's Black's History Month is my first time seeing it, and I wasn't disappointed, but I also have some thoughts on it. First off, it's not at all better than the original trilogy. Let's get that out the way. But when you watch it and get deeper into the production, you realize it probably never was supposed to be. This is a different era, a different generation, so it requires a different type of Shaft. And I'd say, in that aspect, you definitely got that. Shaft 2000 stars Samuel L. Jackson as John Shaft, but not the John Shaft. You see, because he's the nephew of the original John Shaft, played by Richard Roundtree, who also has a role in this movie. Confusing enough for you? Well, get this. They made another Shaft movie in 2019 where Sam Jackson was retconned to actually be the son of the original Shaft. Why the f*** did they make it so complicated? So actually, Shaft 2000 is a sequel, and looking at Richard Roundtree, they could have just made him the star again. That man still looked good for his age and was only 6 years older than Jackson. In a deviation from the original, Jackson's Shaft is an actual cop instead of a private investigator like his uncle, and we get pretty damn far into the movie before he quits the force and decides to do things on his own. He's definitely the stereotypical cop that doesn't play by the rules, but I still feel like being a cop in this movie kind of handicapped him. He doesn't go at it alone like the original Shaft, and there's always a partner or somebody close by to assist him, so it takes away a little bit of the badassery. But every time I say something like that, I keep having to remind myself, this isn't Shaft. This is a completely different person with a completely different personality and a completely different set of rules. In this movie, Shaft is trying to locate a witness to a murder that was done by a rich, racist asshole named Walter Wade Jr., played by a young Christian Bale. Because of this douche, we only get like 5 minutes of Mekhi Phifer in the movie. Of course, Walter has sway over the justice system and gets bail, even leaving the country. But for whatever reason, he decides to come back and Shaft arrests him again, only for him to get bail again. This causes Shaft to quit, and Walter, not wanting to risk a trial in which he'll be identified by the witness, enlists the help of a local drug kingpin named Peoples Hernandez, played by an also young Jeffrey Wright, to track down and kill the witness named Diane, played by another young future heavy hitter, Toni Collette. Look at that. Future Batman and future James Gordon in a movie together, long before anybody ever considered them for those roles. That's pretty much the gist of Shaft 2000, the search for this girl. I like the street tactics that Shaft uses to get one step ahead of the criminals, and had he quit the force earlier, we might have gotten more of that. That aspect was actually a bone of contention from both Sam Jackson and director John Singleton. The original script was heavily rewritten and changed to what we got now. Originally, Shaft was going to be a cop for way longer, and they compromised to make him quit earlier in the movie. Damn, 30 minutes was the compromise? Also cut was the amount of sex. And when I say cut, I mean severed completely, as in there is none. Except for in the opening credits, which has actual nudity, something you don't see too often. Originally, Don Cheadle was considered to be the son of Shaft, and also Wesley Snipes was offered the role of Shaft, but he turned it down after reading the script and realizing that it didn't respect the original enough. That should have been a sign. And that's where I'm at with it. It's a good and enjoyable movie, but it has a lot of early 2000s cringe to it. The early 2000s was kind of a weird time for cinema, and black cinema especially, with a lot of goofy and corny movies being released, and Shaft 2000 is a product of that time period. The new writer of the movie, Richard Price, infused it with a lot of cringe dialogue and a bunch of stuff that would have never been said in the original movies. In fact, Sam Jackson refused to say a lot of it because of the corniness. And perhaps the biggest sin is that a lot of the scenes involving Uncle John Shaft, the actual Shaft, was cut for some insane reason. That's ultimately the biggest issue with it. It's peak 2000s basic action, with not much reverence to the source material. It's saved by the great performances of Bale and Wright as the villains. It even has some decent performances by Vanessa Williams and Busta Rhymes, and it's one of the last films of the late Lynn Thigpen. There's also a cameo with Gordon Parks, the director of the first two 70s Shaft films. Me personally, I would have liked to see a grittier and a darker movie that was more true to the blaxploitation history of the character and gave the city a little more life. What we got was more of a sanitized, modern action version of Shaft. It's a good movie if you just want to sit down and watch a standard action movie, but just keep it in the back of your mind that this isn't the Shaft that you know and love from the 70s. This is something completely different, and that's cool, because Sam Jackson as Shaft is still one bad mother.